this is an Ayatollah who only a few weeks ago slaughtered 30,000 of his people to repress them from protesting.
That number's not confirmed, so you regurgitating it is very questionable, Piers. Where'd you get that number from?
Oh, I'm curious why you are so confident it's not 30,000 people who were killed, but you have no idea how many people were killed. How can you be sure it wasn't 30,000?
No, I don't.
Then?
I don't know how many people. That's rich coming from a guy who defends the slaughter, the mass slaughter of innocents.
I didn't interrupt you. I didn't use bad language like a little girl like you did. So please stay in your lane. I didn't interrupt you. And it is ridiculous to frame this as something that is whereby Israel is in the driving seat. This is an American-led operation.
It is.
Where there are clearly defined...
The whole world thinks is not yours, which the whole world believes is not yours. You're the expansionist state. You're the aggressor state.
No, we're not expansionist.
You're the terrorist state, and you're financed by the United States.
People that came back to our homeland.
That's right.
Okay. Reference at the top of the show. You know, he did a tweet which even I recalled it. I like Cenk a lot, but you know, he called the Ayatollah courageous because he hadn't gone on his knees to Israel. Did you agree? I mean, do you think the Ayatollah Khomeini was a courageous man?
Well, he never capitulated to the Israelis, and we live under a government where, regardless of which party is in power, is on its knees on behalf of Israel. So I understand what he's talking about. He's talking about government leaders, a country's leader in the case of Iran. As much as I did not agree with the Ayatollah, I'm not a religious person, and I certainly don't like extremism or supremacy of any kind. The fact of the matter is he didn't embarrass his people by getting down on his knees to pleasure Israel, as our leaders here in the United States do. So I understand the point that he was trying to make. And I think if you talk to a lot of Americans, they are embarrassed by the fact that our leadership rarely represents our best interests and seems to prioritize the best interests of Israel in every instance. And I think that what we're experiencing right now is a good example of that.
But this is an Ayatollah who only a few weeks ago slaughtered 30,000 of his people to repress them from protesting.
That number's not confirmed, so you regurgitating it is very questionable, Piers. Where'd you get that number from?
Well, how many do you... Okay, well, how many do you think were killed?
We don't know the exact number, but to say that 30,000 people were slaughtered during those short weeks is ridiculous to me. Iran has put out specific names of individuals who have been killed, and it's around 3,000. We don't know what the exact number is, but you really think 30,000 people were killed? You're not going to question that at all? 30,000?
Well, I'm curious, if you don't think it's 30,000, how many do you think it was?
I don't know the exact number. No one knows the exact number.
But you know...
But
if you don't know the number, how do you know? Well, hang on. Hang on a second. Hang on a second.
I've said multiple times. I'm not going to hang on for a second. I've said multiple times. I don't agree or like the regime in Iran. That doesn't mean that it's untrue that they never capitulated to what Israel demanded of them. Whereas here in the United States, we literally spill blood and use our treasure on behalf of Israel. That's the point that Cenk was trying to make. And I think it's a pretty accurate point.
Okay, you can make that point. I'm questioning the... Hang on one second, please. I'm questioning the use of the word courageous about a ruthless, despotic monster. And I'm curious why you are so confident it's not 30,000 people who were killed, but you have no idea how many people were killed. How can you be sure it wasn't 30,000?
No, I don't. I don't know how many people were killed. You don't know how many people were killed.
Right, so you don't know it wasn't 30,000.
The highest number you've heard is questionable, to say the least. Especially when you know that Mossad was on the ground, there were armed terrorists on the ground, security forces were killed during those shootings. Look, the hyena's laughing again. Anyway, but to just regurgitate the number that is being perpetuated by the Israelis is ridiculous to me. We don't know the exact number, so rather than regurgitate it, we can say that there was a high casualty count. We don't know the exact number. It's that simple.
But you used to regurgitate the numbers. Hang on 1 second. Hang on. Let me finish. You did regurgitate, Anna, with respect, all the numbers given to you by the Hamas-run health authority of Palestinian casualties without any hesitation.
Which is confirmed by the Israelis, Piers.
Confirmation.
That was confirmed by the Israelis. You know that, right?
No, it isn't.
The idea of confirmed that number, right?
They were broadly confirmed eventually. But my point is, you seem very, very keen.
They were not.
Because the Hamas-run health ministry is very
here's my
careful.
Point. Here's my point.
Yeah,
Anna, here's my point. I don't understand your apparent keenness to downplay the ruthlessness of the Ayatollah or Cenk's enthusiasm for calling this guy courageous.
I'm not downplaying it. I'm just not going to regurgitate Israeli propaganda as you're doing right now, Piers.
Piers, okay. Can I have a word?
Jonathan Conricus. Yeah, Jonathan, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, since my country has been mentioned so many...
Okay, so let me just... Hold on. Did you catch what just happened there? Anna literally just told an Israeli spokesman to stay in your lane and stay out of my way during a conversation about Israel defending itself from Iranian proxies. Like, the arrogance is unbelievable. This is the same person who just spent minutes downplaying the Ayatollah's brutality and questioning whether Iran actually killed 30,000 of its own people during protests. And when she can't answer how many were killed, she pivots to, well, we don't know the exact number, as if that somehow makes the regime less barbaric. Here's what's so predictable about this. Anna does this thing where she claims she doesn't support the Iranian regime. She says it like 3 times, but then immediately turns around and defends them. Well, he never capitulated to Israel. Okay, so what? He's a tyrant who slaughters his own people, funds terrorism across the entire Middle East, and openly calls for the destruction of Israel. But hey, at least he didn't bow down to the Zionists, right? That's the framing. That's the game she's playing. And look, you know exactly what this is. This is the progressive left's entire playbook when it comes to Israel. They can't openly side with terrorists and dictators, so they do this fake, I don't support them, but routine. I don't support Hamas, but Israel is committing genocide. I don't like the Ayatollah, but America is on its knees for Israel. It's the same formula every single time. They give themselves cover by saying they don't support the bad guys, and then they spend the rest of the time attacking the only democracy in the region. What's even more hilarious is when Piers pushes back and says, "You regurgitated Hamas numbers without hesitation." Anna immediately says, "That was confirmed by the Israelis." Dude, no it wasn't. Not at the time she was reporting it. She was repeating Hamas health ministry numbers as gospel truth. And now she's acting like she's some kind of skeptic when it comes to casualty figures from Iran? Come on. And then Jonathan steps in, and this is where it gets good. He starts laying out the actual reality of what Israel is dealing with, and Anna can't help herself. She interrupts him, calls him a guy who defends the mass slaughter of innocents, and tells him to stay in his lane. It's so obvious she doesn't want to hear what he has to say, because she knows he's about to dismantle her entire argument. Which he does, by the way. Just wait for it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about Anna's logic here. Like, how do you claim you don't support a regime and then defend them in the same breath? It's wild.
The country has been mentioned so many times by people of questionable moral backgrounds and motivations. I'd like to say a few things about my perspective.
Oh, that's rich coming from a guy who defends the slaughter,
Anna,
the mass slaughter of innocents.
I didn't interrupt you. I didn't use bad language like a little girl like you did. So please, stay in your lane. I didn't interrupt you and stay out of mine.
Make your point. Hurry up.
No, I don't have to hurry up, and I don't take orders from you, Anna. And I would speak because you've spoken a lot and you've said a lot of nonsense, and I want to give my perspective on what's going on.
Right.
And it's ridiculous frame this.
Debunk anything
It is ridiculous to frame this as something that is whereby Israel is in the driving seat. This is an American-led operation.
It is.
Where there are clearly defined goals by the U.S. that serve U.S. strategic interest. That's one set of issues that is separate from the ones that is relevant to Israel. There's a lot of overlap, but here's the Israeli perspective. We live in our national homeland, which we have about 3,000 years of documented and archaeological history that connects us to it. Yet we are surrounded by about 5 or 6 different terrorist organizations that are funded by Iran, by the Islamic regime, who all operate against Israel, killing our civilians, harassing our people, infringing on our sovereignty, and all conniving and trying to bring about the destruction of the state of Israel. These organizations, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, former Iranian proxies in Syria, the Houthis in Yemen, Iranian proxies in Iraq, are all funded by, orchestrated by, and armed by Iran. And the overarching idea is to annihilate the state of Israel. The Islamic Republic has an outspoken goal, which they have been pursuing for the better part of 30 years, to destroy the state of Israel. They're not just saying it, they are doing it, and they have been enacting. They have been squandering the resources of the Iranian people. They have been mismanaging the funds of Iran, neglecting Iranian people, and they have been prioritizing militants and terrorists in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Judea and Samaria, in Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen, and other places around the world. Why? Because they have this feverish focus, this sick focus on Israel, trying to destroy and annihilate the Jewish state. When Iranians say, we want to destroy Israel, we listen to it and we take it with real value because we understand that they're serious. And I'll finish with this, Piers. The motivation from Israel is, we want to live in our homeland without Iranian terror organizations, without Iranian ballistic missiles,
Lebanon,
and without
Syria,
Iranian nuclear
Jordan,
weapons that are aimed at us.
Does your homeland include the West Bank? Does your homeland include the West Bank?
Let me... I'm going to come to you. I'm going to come.
Definitely, our homeland includes Judea and Samaria. Yes, if you're asking about Judea and Samaria, if you ask about Judea and Samaria, yes, that is part of the Jewish
which the whole
homeland.
world thinks is not yours, which the whole world believes is not yours. You're the expansionist state, you're the aggressor state,
we're not expansionist,
you're the terrorist state,
at all.
and you're financed by the United States.
People that came back to our homeland,
That's
we were
right.
expelled from it. And we came back to our homeland.
Okay, don't talk.
I don't think
Jonathan,
we need
you've had
to pay excuses.
Jonathan,
for it.
All right, so let's break down what we just watched. Jonathan Conricus absolutely demolished the narrative Anna was trying to push. And the way he did it was simple. He just laid out the facts. Israel is surrounded by 5 or 6 different Iranian-funded terror organizations: Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, the Houthis, Iranian proxies in Iraq and Syria. All of them armed, funded, and orchestrated by the Islamic Republic of Iran. And their stated goal is the complete annihilation of the Jewish state. That's not speculation. That's not conspiracy theory. That's what they say out loud. And here's the thing. When Israel takes action to defend itself, people like Anna frame it as aggression. She literally calls Israel the terrorist state while defending the Ayatollah's courage for not capitulating to them. Let that sink in for a second. A regime that stones women, hangs gay people, funds terrorism across the globe, and slaughters protesters in the streets is courageous. But Israel, defending its civilians from rocket attacks, is terrorism. The double standard is insane. Jonathan makes a point that I think gets lost in these debates. He says, when Iranians say they want to destroy Israel, we listen to it, and we take it with real value because we understand that they're serious. And that's the difference. Israel doesn't have the luxury of ignoring threats. They're a tiny country, surrounded by enemies who openly call for their destruction. Meanwhile, progressives in the West sit in their safe countries and lecture Israel on proportionality and restraint. It's so easy to be moral when you're not the one under attack. And Anna's closing line, "You're the expansionist state, you're the aggressor state, you're the terrorist state, and you're financed by the United States," is just regurgitated leftist propaganda. She doesn't engage with anything Jonathan said about Iranian proxies, about the 3,000 years of Jewish history in the region, about the constant threat Israel faces from all sides. She just goes straight to the talking points. Israel bad, America complicit, end of story. Here's my take. Jonathan won this decisively. He stayed calm, he laid out the facts, and he didn't let Anna derail the conversation with emotional outbursts and moral posturing. Anna, on the other hand, exposed exactly what the progressive left's position is on Israel. They don't actually care about human rights or international law. They care about attacking Israel and framing America's support for its closest Middle Eastern ally as some kind of corrupt betrayal. And you know what's crazy? The audience that supports Anna's take will watch this and think she held her own. They'll ignore the fact that she couldn't answer basic questions, that she downplayed the Ayatollah's brutality, that she called a spokesman for a democratic nation a defender of mass slaughter, while simultaneously defending a dictator who actually commits mass slaughter. The cognitive dissonance is genuinely insane. Let me know in the comments, do you think Piers should have pushed back harder on Anna? Or do you think he gave her enough rope to hang herself? Because honestly, I think she did that all on her own. If you made it this far, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to MB. This is the kind of content we break down here, the debates the mainstream media won't touch honestly. Stay sharp. I'll see you in the next one.